halachically. The custom became that all the men, all the boys light, but that custom didn't spread to the women, and the women don't have that custom. A woman says, I want to light, you can light. There's no issue like, oh no, you can't light. It's not like putting on film. No, you could light if someone decides. The only reason why I'm mentioning this is not because I'm trying to encourage that, oh, if you have a feeling to light, you should light, just because we had the questions in the past when someone asked, oh, could I light? Nothing wrong for light? Nothing wrong. Should you light? There's no custom for women and girls to light. I mean, if so I'm just saying, someone, let's say, feels, oh, why can't I light? You want to light, you can light. But there is no custom for women and girls to light, unless if you have your own apartment, or a single mother, or you have your own apartment, you have to light in your apartment. Let's say you're renting an apartment, you have a basement somewhere where you rent or whatever, and that's your own apartment, you sleep there, you eat there, you have an obligation to light there. Same like the men, no difference. Okay. Now, we're not allowed to benefit from the Chanukah candles. So we're not allowed to use the Chanukah menorah, to sit by the Chanukah menorah and use the light to read something or to do something with it. And the reason is, just like we learned yesterday, that we light the Chanukah menorah specifically in a lower place, so it should be obvious. It's not supposed to be higher than about 31 inches. To start with, it shouldn't be higher than 31 inches. And the reason is so it should be obvious that it's lit for the purpose of doing the mitzvah, not to give light. Because if it's to give light, it's usually higher up. So the same thing also, our sages want it should be obvious and noticeable that this is Chanukah candles. So they said we're not allowed to benefit from it. Because if we're allowed to benefit from it, then it looks exactly like the other candles that are lit. Back then in the days, they lit candles for light. So how would it be noticeable that these candles are Chanukah candles if you could use it? So they said you're not allowed to use it. So it's very clear and obvious that these candles are lit for the mitzvah. That's one reason. Another reason is because it's to commemorate the miracle that happened in the Beis Hamikdash with the menorah. That one jug of oil burned for 8 days. The menorah you weren't allowed to benefit from. You weren't allowed to use the light from the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. So they said, we're going to treat it like the menorah, that you cannot benefit from it. Now, this that you can't benefit from it, the question now is, till when? In other words, so the mitzvah of lighting the menorah, how long does the menorah have to burn for? We said yesterday till about 30 minutes after the stars come out till after dark. Which would mean that theoretically would mean that if after that time is up, there's no mitzvah anymore, and it would seem that you should be allowed to benefit from the Chanukah candles. However, it is brought down, but we shouldn't. We should not benefit from the Chanukah candles, even after the time is up, because if someone sees you benefiting from it, it gets confusing. He doesn't understand, so you're allowed to benefit from it. Oh, no, you're benefiting because it's after the time. Oh, it's after the time, before the time is up. So Chum said the best thing is that we don't benefit from the Chanukah menorah. We treat it even after the time is up and the candles don't have to burn anymore. Still, we should not benefit from it, so it doesn't lead to any confusion when people walk away saying, oh, you're allowed to benefit from the Chanukah menorah. Interesting to point out, there are opinions that say it's not the halacha, it's not mainstream, but it's sort of like we call it astringency. Well, there is an opinion that there are opinions that say that these days, because the mitzvahs for inside publicize the miracle of the people inside, so the menorah should burn longer than the amount of time. But that's not halacha. That you could say maybe it's a good idea, it's a nice thing to keep the candles burning longer, but it's not a requirement. Now, it has to be noticeable. I'm not sure if I mentioned this yesterday, that the candles, oh, I think it was another class I taught. It has to be noticeable how many candles are burning. The whole point of, I shouldn't say the whole point, part of the mitzvah of Chanukah candles is, I mean, the main point is to bring out, to show the miracle of Chanukah, how the one jug of oil they found burned for 8 days. That's why we light it, and every day we add another candle. 1, 2, 3, 4, we keep on adding. The reason why we're adding is because we want to show how the miracle increased with every single day. That this one jug of oil not only burnt for 2 days, burnt for 3 days, for 4 days, for 5 days. That's why we keep on adding. So and the whole idea is to publicize the miracle. So therefore, it has to be noticeable when someone walks in and looks at the Chanukah, you can see how many candles are there. So back in the days, when they didn't necessarily have, everyone had their own Chanukah menorah, and it could be a few people lighting in the house. So let's say it's the second night of Chanukah, and 3 people are lighting. Everyone like 2. Someone walks in and looks. Okay, you're gonna say people know. Look at the candles. That's the point. The point is it has to be noticeable. And you can see how many candles there is. It looks like the 6 candles burning. So therefore, it has to be separated. You can't have it all together. That's one thing. Now, another thing. The candles themselves cannot be too close to each other, and they can't be put in a circle. Now, of course, the menorahs are made a certain way. Now, the reason why the menorah is made straight, not like zigzag, whatever the word, or like the candelabras we have for Shabbos, they are spiral, yeah? How come the Hanukkah menorah is not spiral? How come it's straight? So one way of looking at it is that's how it's the Beis Hamikdash, but that's not the reason. The reason is Chacham don't allow us to light it in a circle, because then when you look a little bit back, it looks like it's a whole fire burning together. You can't necessarily notice how many candles are burning, because when it's in a circle and you move far back, so it looks a little bit like a flame. That's why it's supposed to be specifically in a row. And you should leave some space in between, not much. Also, if it's too close, they burn down very quickly. Now, the menorah also, the shamash, that is, there's a shamash. There's the shamash that we use to light all the candles, right? Now, before we get to the shamash, it says in Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to have another candle burning in the room. So back in the days, there's no electricity, and you're lighting the Chanukah menorah. Okay, very nice. Now, are other candles in the room? Let's say, no, there's no other candles. I don't need any more light. I'm only doing Chanukah menorah now. Is that an issue? Yes, it is an issue. Because we want it to be very noticeable that you have it's lit for the mitzvah. So if these are the only candles here, it could give that impression that you're lighting candles to give light. So there has to be another candle lit. These days you have electricity on. But besides that, there should also be a shamash. Well, we know about the shamash that we light the candles with, and then we leave the shamash on the side. And if you have a menorah shamash, in other words, the regular, right? A menorah with a shamash, then you don't necessarily have to have the lights on. It's still best that you should have the lights on, even though you have a regular menorah with a shamash. It's still better to have the lights on. Now, let's discuss the shamash. The shamash is supposed to be distant from the menorah. Put about the menorah up and downstairs.
Right, I'd like to have it on the board.
Shamash?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. I have something for.
Huh?
I have brought them from,
You brought,
whiteboard markers,
why?
like new ones.
New ones?
Yeah, I brought one in the back.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just reminded
You don't have to bring it now, but right for now, it's good.
I mean, I
Isn't it?
didn't forget later to have to go to the probably the day after.
Maybe the stuff, whatever you want.
Shaman.
Do whatever, you wanna get it now, it's fine.
I. It's shocking.
Okay, so the shamish, which means servant, shamish is a son, because it serves us, shamish, it's all related. But this is to serve, to light the menorah. Now, the shamish has to be distant from the menorah. Now, the reason why I'm discussing is because many times my kids come home and they bring a menorah that they make, they build in school, arts and crafts. Young kids are very excited about the menorah, and they build the menorah with them. They build themselves on a plank of wood, and they take caps from soda bottles or whatever different things that they figure out how to make the menorah and make a place for shamish. And I noticed many times that it's not done properly. That's why it's important to discuss it, because the ones you buy in the store are done properly. But when they build it on their own and they're excited, not always it's done right. So that's why I'm discussing it. So, thank you. The shamish has to be distant from the candle. Imagine it's the second night of Chanukah. You have two candles and you have a shamish that you light with, and then you put it on the side. So it looks like there's three candles. Usually it's noticeable because it's higher up. Well, it's supposed to be, to start with, to go in order how it's discussed, it's supposed to be distant. The main thing is it's supposed to be distant, also higher up, but it starts with the idea that it's supposed to be distant from the menorah. It's like this, you can see how many candles. There's two over here. If I have two candles like this, and the shamish is distant over here, so it's obvious two, and this is distant, it's not part of it. But it's not supposed to be right next to each other. But have something?
Yes, so my father has like one that's been handed down two generations.
How
but-
about we just, let me finish everything, then
Okay,
I
sorry.
think it'll be easier. Okay? And now, in addition to that, it's also supposed to be higher. The reason why the shamish has to be higher, so in case you come to, because we discussed before, that you're not allowed to benefit, you're not allowed to use the Chanukah menorah. So, what's it by mistake to use the Chanukah menorah? So we have a shamish. So besides that, the shamish lights all the other candles, but it's also there after you light it to leave it on the side. So in case by mistake you forget and you use the menorah, so now it's not considered like you benefit from the menorah because there was also shamish there. So you weren't dependent on the lights of the menorah. There was another candle burning there, so it's considered like you actually got the light that you needed from the shamish. So that's the purpose why we leave the shamish next to it. And that is why the shamish should be higher up, because usually you get light from what you get more light from what's higher up. As you see in the room, the lights on the ceiling, you get more lights from what's higher up. That's why the shamish is higher. So in case you do end up using the menorah by mistake, so now it's considered that you got your light from the shamish. So it's supposed to be distant and higher, two things, not just higher, just to be distant closer. So what I noticed over the years many times is my children coming home and they have this Chanukah menorah and they're very excited about it. And they distant the shamish from the menorah from the other candles. They distant it a little bit, not too much. They could distance it a little more, but that's not the whole issue. Now they also make it higher up. Now, if it was actually much higher up, even if it's not even if it's not so distant from the other candles, but it's obvious because it's higher up. So they do make it a little bit higher up, but they don't distance it so much. So they make it a little bit higher. How much higher? They take a little cap of something, little cap that's maybe this high, and it's higher up. It is higher up, but it's not so distant from other candles. Now, when candles are burning, candles don't burn like oil. I mean to say, when you have an oil menorah, it's all the same height. And even if one of the cups are burning a little more fast than the other, it doesn't drop down so much. It's in a cup, it's in a straight. When you have candles burning, sometimes some candles get very hot and they burn very fast. You have a candle going down really fast, one higher, one lower. Now, what happens is I'm looking at the menorah, So they put the shamash in the middle, shamash in the middle, and let's say it's the sixth candle, the fifth candle. The shamash is in the center, four on each side. The shamash is a little bit higher up. Now the shamash is burning a little faster. So it's the fifth night of Chanukah, and it looks like the six candles there. When you look at it, it looks like the six candles. It's not proper. Doesn't mean you didn't do the mitzvah. That's not what it means. You did the mitzvahs performed. Don't worry about that. But talking about doing things in the proper way. So therefore, if you're ever in that situation, you're going to be building the night with children. So make sure the shamash is much higher. I mean, much like I think it should be this height, at least this height, like 2 to 3 inches. Should also be a little more distant, but at least if it's higher up, so it's going to be very distinct, and it's not part of the candles, especially if it's in the center. Any question? You want to ask something?
It being in the middle. You answered it.
The shamash being in the middle?
Yeah.
Then what?
My
I didn't say anything
father-
about.
So-
Oh, you asked, could it be in the middle?
Yeah.
It could be in the middle, yeah. It's not an issue in the middle of the side. But the issue really is if it's in the middle and it's not too much higher up, they don't usually leave so much space. It's not so obvious the difference. Though it's for some reason, see, the shamash has to be distant from the other candles. And when they're putting it in the middle, many times you don't have such a big distance between the shamash and the other candles, like the other candles from each other.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen come out.
That's what.
Theoretically, yeah, you could make it bigger and have more space in the middle. I think the side is better. I didn't say you can't have in the middle. I think the side is better. Need more space, but a little in the back, whatever. Yeah.
The shamash like burning faster, like you were saying with this example.
Right.
It's an issue because it looks like less candles, or because the shamash also needs to be lit 30 minutes after nightfall.
The issue is that when the shamash is burning faster, and now it's equal to the other candles, so when it's the fifth night of Chanukah, it looks like it's the sixth night of Chanukah. That's the issue. Well, talking about the shamash burning the required amount of time that the candles have to burn, that's also the time that the shamash has to burn. So even if you leave the candles burning longer and the shamash goes down, it's fine. You don't have the shamash burning afterwards, because even though we don't use the Chanukah minute, we don't benefit from it, we don't use the light. But even if you do, let's say, if it's after the time, you're not really transgressing. It's just that to start with, you shouldn't be using the Chanukah minute even after the time is up. So if it's 30 minutes after dark and the shamash is not burning anymore, that's okay. But during the required amount of time, the shamash should be burning. Now the question is, if the reason why you have a shamash is in case you benefit from the Chanukah minute, so why can't you benefit from the Chanukah minute? If you have a shamash there that's there, they should be allowed to benefit from it, because you're not really benefiting from the Chanukah minute, from the Chanukah lights, because you have a shamash there. So it's considered like the light you're getting is from the shamash. You're not dependent on the Chanukah lights, because you anyways have another candle burning there. It's giving you enough light. So what's the problem using the Chanukah minute if you have a shamash? And the reason is because, again, we want that it should be noticeable that the candles were lit for the mitzvah of Chanukah. If you're going to benefit from it, it gives the impression that these are regular candles, not Chanukah candles. Now, there is a custom that women don't do any work while the candles are burning. That means during the required amount of time. They don't do any work. Work means sewing, weaving, doing laundry. That's what work means. Yeah.
We got time to I heard that concept that while the menorahs are like
What?
When the menorah is lit, for the first night or second night, you have to wait till it burns out. I think it's for men.
And then
It's the same thing as,
Say it again, when a woman,
you said, you can't do leaving or you can't
Yeah, yeah.
do work. The same concept, like you have to stay there and you have to wait for it to over, like the burning of the mirror.
it's two separate things. No, it's two separate things. There is a custom to sit by the Menorah for half an hour. Like the men sit by the Menorah, the women can also sit around the Menorah. That's one idea. Then there's a separate thing that we don't do the women don't do any work during the time that the candles are burning. And that's only during the time that it's required to be burning. Till 30 minutes after dark. Afterwards, they could do work. As long as they're not doing work by the candles. But after the time is up, they could do work. Because it doesn't have to be burning anymore. What is the reason? What is the idea of not doing any work? Women not doing any work. So there's two separate things that come together. There's a custom. What's the reason of the custom in general? What's the idea of not doing work while the candles are burning? It's a reminder that you can't benefit from the Chanukah Menorah. The fact that you can't do work is a reminder that you can't benefit from the Chanukah Menorah. That's the idea behind the custom of not doing any work while the Chanukah Menorah is burning. What is the idea of the women having the custom? Why do women have the custom? Because it's brought that the women have a special connection to Chanukah, because in a certain way, the decree of Chanukah was worse for the women, and therefore they have this special custom that they don't do any work while the Chanukah Menorah is burning. But the reason actually why they don't do any work while the Chanukah Menorah is burning is a reminder that you can't benefit from the Chanukah Menorah, which is a general concept for men and women, but they have that custom because the miracle of Chanukah has, in a certain way, a special connection to women because the decree of Chanukah, in a certain way, was far worse for the women than it is in certain aspects. But again, the custom is only of not doing work. We say the word work, we mean weaving, sewing, and doing laundry. So other things, cooking is not an issue. Okay, so we mentioned yesterday that Hadloka, we started to discuss it, and I'm just going to elaborate a little more on this. Hadloka Beis Mitzvah. It says, because
Sure. It's new, brand.
wait,
Oh, it's broken. It's not broken. No way it's broken. It's like. There's no way it's broken.
wait, you saying that it's new?
Yeah. It's like, they try to do it on a paper, you don't go fix it.
No,
Oh.
I guess it's a defected one.
We talk on the other one, which in the.
Okay.
afternoon.
Sorry. Yeah, this one.
That's scary, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I just don't know, food defective.
Hadloka Oisa Mitzvah. So we started discussing yesterday. Hadloka, the lighting does the mitzvah. The mitzvah is in the lighting itself. So when you light the menorah, you do the mitzvah. What happens afterwards doesn't matter. Halachically, I mean, if someone lights the menorah and then it's extinguished, I think we spoke about this yesterday, right? But then somehow it's extinguished, you still do the mitzvah. However, even though it's extinguished and you still do the mitzvah, the custom is we still should relight it. But because of the mitzvah, because of this concept, Hadloka is a mitzvah, that lighting does the mitzvah, that means also that at the time of the lighting, there has to be enough oil that it can burn the required amount of time. So let's say you're lighting the candles, the Chanukah candles at 4:35, that's the time to light the candles, approximately 4:35, 4:40, let's say. And what time does it get dark? Let's say about 5:10. So the menorah has to burn till about 5:40, right? So let's say it has to burn for about an hour, let's say. So now when you're lighting the menorah, you have to make sure there's enough oil that it could burn for that amount of time. Okay, so you lit the menorah, and then you realize, oops, I didn't add any oil from last night. There's barely any oil. The menorah is going to go out. So what do? You already did the mitzvah, right? So what do? You just add more oil until it has enough oil that it can burn the required amount of time, and that's it. right? No. We have more no's? No is correct. No, you can't just add more oil because the mitzvah is in the lighting. When you lit it, it couldn't burn that amount of time. So you didn't do the mitzvah. So you actually have to extinguish it and relight it. Then you have to relight it with a bracha. That's questionable. That is questionable. Huh?
Before that, they are leaving the menorah, like the Chanukah. We just can add like arve or
Before you light it.
yeah.
Right. You're supposed to do it before. If you did it afterwards, no good. You have to extinguish it, relight it, but without a bracha. No bracha. Bracha is questionable. Now, there's one more point. Now, if let's say, now there could be a situation you have to relight it with a bracha, and then is if you lit it in such a way that it couldn't burn at all. That means, let's say you're lighting it. Sometimes it could happen that you're lighting it and the wick is not catching fire. You see the way it's burning, there's something wrong with it. You're lighting it, it's not catching fire. It was burning for a second, but it just couldn't catch. Then when you relight it, you will, actually, come to think of it, it depends. It's a little tricky. That's if you didn't interrupt yet, well, if you're lighting, okay, let's go back. If you're lighting it and it's not catching fire, so you didn't interrupt, you didn't speak in between, you could still correct it. Talking about if you walked away and you spoke about something irrelevant to the mitzvah, but when you look back, you realize that when you lit it, it wasn't able to catch fire at all. Somehow the wick was totally out. That means you haven't done any mitzvah at all. Not usually the case, not hypothetical case. So there can be a situation that you will have to relight it with a bracha. But usually, in this case, you lit the menorah, it's burning. It doesn't have enough oil. Okay, you have to relight it. But to say a new bracha, that's questionable, and you will relight it without a bracha. Want to add something?
Yeah, I know if you can't remember, if you set a bracha on a food, you say it in your head, so it's not a bracha levatala, would you do the same thing with this?
You could. It's not. I haven't seen where it's brought down such a thing. Maybe there's some. It doesn't seem like it's mainstream opinion that should be done. So there is such a concept of saying it in your head with kavanah. Even regarding food, the Alter Rebbe doesn't talk about it. When you have a doubt, to say it in your head. It could be done. I mean, if someone wants to do it, it's not. It's a good thing. I mean, if someone if you do it, if you want to do it that way, it's fine. There's no bracha, and there's no Shem's name in vain. Yeah.
With if you lit it and it goes out and if you have like put enough oil in the first place,
Right.
does it make a difference if it's like within the required time or not, or like you do the same thing no matter what?
That's the whole point. What do you
Oh,
think?
what's that? Yeah, never
The
mind.
whole point is that it's within
Yeah.
that it didn't have enough oil to burn the required amount of time, so the mitzvah is not being done properly.
Yeah.
But you still relight it without a bracha because at the end of the day, you lit it and it was burning. So it's not clear cut that you definitely did not fulfill the obligation. So you relight it without a bracha. But now, if you light it properly and it's burning well, and someone runs by the menorah and someone opens the window and it's extinguished, halachically, you're not required to relight it. Should you relight it? Yes. The proper thing is to relight it, yes, for sure, without a bracha. It should be relit. But if you didn't, you still did the mitzvah. Now, obviously, if it's Friday night, you can't because it's Shabbos. Should you ask a non-Jew to relight it?
You don't have to.
If it's at Friday night and it's already Shabbos and it's not going to burn the required amount of time, should you ask a non-Jew to relight it? No, that was correct. You don't, because there are situations you can ask a non-Jew to do a malacha for you when it's a mitzvah. Like, for example, if a woman forgot to light Shabbos candles in a case when she's required, I don't know if it works for girls that aren't married and they're living in someone else's house, the requirement is not the same. But let's take a classical case. the woman of the house forgot to light the Shabbos candles, and it's already after sunset. What does she do? So it says that she could ask a non-Jew to light the Shabbos candle for her, and he says the bracha, because the mitzvah by Shabbos candles, the mitzvah is not in the lighting, even though it is also the lighting, but it's not primarily in the lighting. The lighting is not the mitzvah. Sure, there's a mitzvah to light, but the point of the lighting is to benefit from it. So you're going to get the benefit from it. So the non-Jew is lighting one candle. That's it, only one candle, not more than one candle. And then you will say the bracha. But Friday night with the Chanukah menorah, the mitzvah is done. There's no mitzvah to relight it. So you can't ask a non-Jew to relight the Chanukah menorah for you. Besides that, it's almost pointless, because if the mitzvah is in the lighting, so then what's the point? There might be no point anyways, because the non-Jew has to be connected to the mitzvah of lighting, even though there's no mitzvah anyways, the mitzvah is done. Anyways, bottom line is, whichever way, the bottom line is, you don't tell a non-Jew to relight it. There's no point in it. It's no point, and it's not allowed. You want to ask something?
Yeah.
The what?
Right.
How could you ask a non-Jew to light Shabbos candles after the sun sets? Is that your question? Well, after the sun sets, it's Shabbos, so you're not allowed to light. But being that there's a mitzvah to light Shabbos candles, and a very important mitzvah, and even though generally you're not allowed to tell a non-Jew to do work for you, but between sunset until it's dark, even though we treat it like Shabbos, but there's a leniency during that period of time that for things that are important and crucial, we allow you to tell a non-Jew. So being this is a very important mitzvah, every mitzvah is important, because it's a mitzvah that you're going to lose out, we allow you to ask a non-Jew to help you out in the performance of the mitzvah. And in this case, because the lighting of the Shabbos candle is not in itself the full mitzvah, so you can have the non-Jew light the candle, only one candle, and you say the bracha because you're still doing the mitzvah, because the mitzvah is the benefiting from it. Other things we do on Chanukah is Ala Nisim. We say we have to add Ala Nisim in the Amida. So remember to put in Al Hanisim. It's in Maidim, in the Amida. If you forget, and you already said Baruch Atah Hashem, you don't go back. So again, Al Hanisim in the davening, starting Wednesday night. Oh, you don't do Ma'ariv. Shabbos. Thursday morning, right? Thursday morning. First day of Chanukah in the Amida, remember to insert Al Hanisim in the Maidim. If you forget and you already said the words Baruch Atah Hashem, you forgot and you continued, you said and then you said Baruch Atah Hashem. What do you say Hashem's name? You just continue. If it's before Hashem's name, Hashem. Not okay. Baruch Atah Hashem. When you say Hashem's name, then you don't go back, you just continue. We also do Hallel, the full Hallel. After the Amida, we say the entire Hallel for all 8 days of Chanukah. Any questions?
We finish Amida, and after Alel, and after Ashrei, and after Alelu.
And afterwards goes Hallel, afterwards Ashrei, and then goes whatever you usually do,
Yeah.
whatever you do starting from Ashrei.
Okay.
Amida, Hallel.
And after
And then goes Ashrei, and then from Ashrei, whatever you usually do,
okay.
the regular.
But we only do one Pam Echad Alenu.
Aleinu? Yeah.
Only one time, like
Yeah.
in the end.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We always do Aleinu once. Whether we ever do it twice, Aleinu?
No,
Think.
but we went finish Amida and after Daled, no. Oh,
We
Yeah.
do the tefillah, Amida.
yeah,
I'm saying, you said about Elena twice. Why would we say Elena twice? Think,
no, after the Amida and after Daled, but no,
Amida and then Hallel,
okay.
and then goes Ashrei. In Shul, they read the Torah. This Kriyas HaTorah. Every day of Chanukah, they read the Torah.
And
Yeah.
I usually do Tefillah like before Kentir,
Before you come in.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't, אין לי זמן כדי tipo, לעשות כל התפילה עם הלל. נכון. אז אני יכולה לעשות עד 18, ופה אני עושה הלל, מאשרי במידה, או לא.
The last words I didn't pick up. The Pailani Yetzer Hallel Bamida. Did you say you want to be Yetzer Hallel through Shmonesres?
She's asking if she can do Amida at the dorm
Yeah.
and then
And do
again
Hallel
here.
Yeah.
But I can talk and everything.
Yeah, after Amida you could talk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. After Amida you could talk. No problem.
Okay.
Okay, Shreya Chanukah. See you back on Friday. Yeah, the answer to your question is,